Claire welcomed the twins back, but I disappeared. My wife insisted on being child-free, and I chose to have a vasectomy on our wedding day. 20 years later, the stock agreement of the Wynn Group bore the names of a pair of twins. After careful investigation, I discovered that they were twins Serena had given birth to 10 years ago. Serena's parents, now retired, had been by their side all along. Like a bolt from the blue, I angrily questioned her why. She said calmly, to fulfill Ethan's filial duty. With tears welling up in my eyes, I argued with her fiercely. Friends and elders around me tried to persuade me, you've been married for 20 years of marriage, isn't it just one child? Serena still cares about you, otherwise she wouldn't have kept it from you. Serena has never disliked you all these years despite your poor health, and someone has to inherit such a big business of the Wynn family. I looked at the silent Serena with heartache. Although she was in her early 40s, her figure and appearance were still so young. As long as you don't see them again, I won't get a divorce. This is my biggest concession. Serena stood up and silently took off her ring. They are my dearest people, and I can't not see them. I am also their mother. She looked at me without any guilt or remorse. If you keep dwelling on it, I can only move out for a while. I clenched my fist tightly and finally gave up. Serena, let's get a divorce. Dad stood up and slapped me in the face. Serena is such a good wife, and you actually want a divorce? I'll break your legs. My cousin also said anxiously, brother, how much has your sister-in-law helped us? Isn't it just one child? And it's not like you have to pay for it. How can you get a divorce over such a small matter? Everyone started to persuade me, and Serena's face also turned ugly. After hesitating for a long time, she opened her mouth and said, Owen, that's not what I meant. A burst of stuffiness and stabbing pain in my heart. I raised my head and forced back the bitterness. Serena, what you meant is no longer important. You have already betrayed our vows. Serena's expression darkened, and I couldn't see her emotions. Owen, we are both this age. We've been through thick and thin together. I thought you would understand me. I was just fulfilling my promise to Ethan back then, and there were no other thoughts. They are just responsibility, not love. Why do you have to be jealous for no reason? She spoke lightly of her helplessness, gently blaming my narrow-mindedness. But it landed in my heart with immense bitterness. It turned out that my tolerance and love had made her ignore our relationship so recklessly. I closed my eyes. 20 years ago, I was wronged and ostracized at college, and Serena stood up for me. From then on, I fell in love with the straightforward and beautiful Serena. I thought she and I would always be parallel lines. A year after graduating from college, her family encountered an economic crisis. Her illegitimate half-sister colluded with a scumbag to forge a contract and seize the company's assets. At the time of the Wynn family's bankruptcy, I decisively resigned from my job and joined the Wynn family. Serena and I went everywhere to beg for help, endured humiliation, and down one cup is 100,000, and 1 million is spent on loans. It took 5 full years to bring the Wynn family back to life. When I married Serena, she said she didn't want children because she was heartbroken by her half-sister. I resolutely had a vasectomy. A year later, both sets of parents-in-law urged marriage. I withstood the rumors and took out my sterility certificate. From then on, all kinds of tonics were poured into my stomach like water. Serena hugged me distressfully. Owen, I should tell the truth. This will cause problems. I looked at her seriously. Are you sure you can withstand their pressure? Not being able to have children is different from not wanting to have children. As long as you have thought it through, I will support you. Serena hesitated. At that time, I told her that if one day she was no longer afraid and wanted a child, I could have another surgery to have our own baby. Serena nodded in agreement. 10 years ago, Serena's parents suddenly stopped pressuring us. Mother-in-law no longer rolled her eyes and forced me to drink medicine. They went abroad to spend their twilight years, and the family was left to Serena and me. I thought they had figured it out. It turned out that the Wynn family already had an heir, and a pair of twins at that. I realized that Serena's half-year abroad was not for further studies, but to give birth to children. I endured the stuffiness and sadness. Serena, can you distinguish between responsibility and love? Don't you think I'm pitiful? Am I like a fool? Serena saw my sad expression, and a trace of guilt flashed across her face. I'm sorry, Owen. I really didn't want you to suffer through surgery. I just wanted to fulfill my dream of being a mother. Look, they don't bother us, and I also helped Ethan fulfill his filial duty. If you are willing, they will also honor and respect you as their father in the future. I smiled sadly. So my Claire cheated on me, and I still have to thank her for letting me have children to fulfill my filial duty. Otherwise, I would have become a lonely old man in this life. Serena looked at me embarrassedly, her tone involuntarily rising. Owen, why are you saying such harsh things? What cheating? Ethan and it was just once, and it was also for. Perhaps she was too embarrassed to continue, and she drove everyone out of the room. Owen, I know you're angry, but think about me. I'm already 42. I just don't want to leave any regrets. If you really love me, you should accept the children. Ethan takes good care of the children. You don't have to do anything. Isn't that good? I stared at Serena for a long time, then said in a hoarse voice, what if I don't accept it? Owen, I know you can't accept it for a while. It's okay. I'll give you time. I can't not see Ethan and the children. Next week is Dad's 70th birthday. Ethan will bring the children. You'll like them when you see them. Saying that, she closed the door and left. I quietly opened my phone and looked at the documents sent by the detective, which contained tens of thousands of photos and videos, recording Serena's pregnancy, the birth of the children, and every bit of their growth to this day. Of course, there was also a stock agreement. 20 years of marriage. It turned out that she spent most of her time abroad every year for inspection and study, but it was all to accompany Ethan and their children. How ridiculous that I never suspected it. The photo of a loving family deeply pierced my eyes. Serena smiled so sweetly and happily. I gave up myself, married into the one family, willing to be the man behind her, accompanying her through thick and thin, but I was just a passerby. I closed my phone in disappointment and called a friend. I agreed to go to the Northwest to develop new markets. Get me the best lawyer. I want a divorce. On Serena's father's birthday, Ethan arrived, dressed in custom-made clothes, his carefully maintained face looking so handsome and refined. I don't know what he said, but it made Serena's parents laugh heartily. The two children, wearing traditional Chinese red costumes, festive and cute. Mother-in-law held the two children, her eyes full of love. Afraid that they would be thirsty or hungry, she specially ordered servants to serve signature pastries from a five-star hotel by their side. When she saw me, mother-in-law just hummed and casually threw the gift I gave into the pile of gifts. Mother-in-law always looked down on me, thought I was not worthy of her daughter, and was a man without seeds. Ethan flatteringly presented a bracelet, and mother-in-law immediately happily put it on her hand, praising it repeatedly. Ethan is so thoughtful. I like jade bracelets the most. They are nourishing. Then she looked at me and said, unlike some people, looking mournful, even the gift is unlucky. The moment Serena saw the children, she let go of my hand and rushed over. Felix, Bella, did you miss Mom? Saying that, she squatted down and hugged the two children in her arms. Ethan looked at the mother and children with a smile, and like a husband, naturally put his arm around Serena and kissed her on the side of her face. Serena brushed the non-existent dust off his chest and asked softly, are you tired from the plane ride? Or Felix and Bella naughty? As if she suddenly remembered that I, the real husband, was still there, she hurriedly pulled the little boy to me. Owen, this is Felix, the older brother. The little boy's face was 9/10 similar to Ethan's, and the remaining 1/10 barely resembled Serena, with thin lips and peach blossom eyes. The little boy glanced at me with disdain. You're so ugly. You're not as handsome as my dad at all. Then he coquettishly said to Serena, Mom, you said you would give me a big gift for my 10th birthday. What is it? Faced with the little boy's rudeness to me, Serena lightly scolded, Mom has already prepared it for you, but you can't be rude. This is Uncle Owen. Say hello. The little boy immediately looked at me arrogantly. I know. You're that good for nothing. You stole Mom from us. We don't like you. Get out of here. Serena was stunned for a moment. Just as she was about to reprimand the child, Ethan walked over. Serena, children don't mean what they say. Don't scold him. The children can't see you every day. Of course they're going to have opinions. Serena's face flashed with guilt, and she hurriedly squatted down to coax the little boy. Felix, be good. Mom can be with you often in the future. Saying that, she stood up, clapped her hands, and immediately a few waiters walked over, each holding a gift in their hands. Ethan, this is a mansion I bought for you and the children. Don't go back this time, Serena said as she uncovered the second red silk, and a car registration certificate and driver's license lay on the tray. I bought you a Cayenne to make it easier for you to get around. Saying that, she uncovered the third red silk, which was a private custom unlimited card from an international brand master. I never knew that Serena was so considerate, from watches to rings to food. A birthday banquet turned into an exhibition. Serena looked at the happy father and son and turned to nod to the lawyer. The lawyer picked up the microphone. Now, on behalf of Ms. Serena Wen, I will announce an agreement to donate 40% of the shares of the Wen Group to Felix and Bella respectively. 10% of the shares of the Wen Group will be donated to Mr. Ethan Lin. This agreement has been notarized and will take effect today. Everyone looked at Serena in shock. 50% of the shares of the One Group were worth billions of assets. I just sneered as I watched the guests congratulate Ethan. How ridiculous, how ridiculous. I worked like a dog for the Wen family for 20 years, and she never mentioned the shares. But she was worried that Ethan had no security and gave him 10% of the shares early on to protect himself. It was clear at a glance who she cared about and who she didn't. Serena then noticed me standing coldly to the side. Owen, don't think too much. Giving shares to Felix and Bella is also for their better growth. You are my husband, and they will naturally honor you as they honor me in the future, and you don't need shares alone. As soon as she finished speaking, Ethan walked over and put his arm around Serena's shoulders. Serena, there are a few elders I don't recognize. Could you introduce me? Saying that, he took Serena into the crowd. The moment she turned around, a contemptuous and mocking look fell on me. Serena's parents beckoned for a family photo. I silently withdrew from the crowd. When Serena came back, I was already sitting on the ground, drunk and teary-eyed. She helped me up apologetically, and her body was stained with the scent of cologne. She brought water, wiped my face clean, and fed me warm water. For a moment, I seemed to have returned to 20 years ago, when we loved each other wholeheartedly. At that time, the company didn't have a dime of capital. We took the president of the bank out to dinner to get a loan. I drank 1 cup as 100,000, and 1 million is spent on loans. That day, I vomited blood from my stomach, and Serena just hugged me like that, wiping my face and feeding me water with tears in her eyes. More than once, she cried and said, "Let's give up. If we continued like this, the company would be gone, and we would be dragged down." I hugged her tightly, kissing her tears. Serena, I will definitely take back the Wen family for you and make those who bullied you kneel down and apologize to you. Serena hugged me, kissed my hair, with tears of guilt. Owen, I won't leave you. I will never leave you. I just didn't want you to suffer through surgery, but I still hurt you. Our tears merged together again, only bitterness and no sweetness. Serena, let them go abroad and never come back, okay? You like children. I'll go to the hospital tomorrow. Let's have our own, okay? As long as you come back, I can endure any hardship. Serena's body stiffened, and I woke up. Serena, why didn't you come to me when you wanted children? The marble coffee table instantly cracked into patterns, and blood dripped down from my clenched fist. The next day, Serena specially brought Felix and Bella back. Felix and Bella, this is your Uncle Owen. Say hello to Uncle Owen. Serena pushed the 2 children in front of me. You can get to know the children first. You'll definitely like them. Saying that, she bent down, as doting as she was with Ethan. Felix and Bella, play with Uncle Al. And today, Mom has to go to the company to take care of something, okay? Felix, being a smart child, immediately said loudly, "Mom, go ahead. We'll listen to Uncle Owen. Dad has already taught us." Serena smiled with relief. The moment she reached the door, she waved to us with a smile. Felix immediately lowered his voice and leaned close to me. "Mom is going to be with Dad. Dad said you're a poor wretch who doesn't have any children and still wants to steal us. This is Mom's house. We don't like you. Why are you still hanging around?" Saying that, he made faces at me mockingly and stuck out his tongue. My throat tightened, and a chill spread through my body. I just stared blankly in the direction of the door. How could she deceive me so calmly? Was she trying to dig out my heart? I sat blankly on the sofa, watching the two children jump up and down. I wanted to call Serena, but 10-year-old Felix grabbed my phone and threw it on the ground, revealing a fierce expression. "You're not allowed to call. Mom is on a date with Dad. Don't even think about ruining them. You're just a good for nothing. Mom is just taking care of you out of pity." Saying that, he made faces at me and stuck out his tongue. I gasped for breath. It turned out that even the children knew I was a good for nothing who depended on Serena. No wonder everyone didn't blame Serena for cheating and having children. Suddenly, Felix grabbed the broken phone and his hand immediately bled. Bella immediately made a call. Serena and Ethan arrived quickly. Ethan hugged Felix with concern, checking his hand and asking questions constantly. Felix sobbed. It was him. He got angry and smashed the phone himself. I went to pick it up for him, and he called me a bastard and told me to get out. "Dad, I'm scared. I want to go home." Bella clung to Ethan's leg in fear. Ethan glared at me immediately, suppressing his furious tone. "Mr. Phone, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have fallen in love with Serena. I've been abroad all these years and didn't want to bother you. But Felix is just a child. If you have any dissatisfaction, come at me. I'll take whatever beating or scolding you want. It's all because Felix is ignorant. How can we not indulge him?" Saying that, his eyes turned red. I felt a sense of powerlessness and was about to explain. Serena slapped me in the face first. Her face was cold, and it was an iciness I had never seen before. "I know you're upset, but I didn't expect you to take it out on the children." Serena looked at me coldly, and the words she spoke were like 10,000 swords piercing my heart. "Owen Fawn, this is the Wynn family. Felix is the master of the Wynn family. What right do you have to call him a bastard and tell him to get out?" I wanted to explain, but Serena turned her head and hugged Felix and Ethan as she walked out. I quietly looked at the empty mansion, and a bitter and sour feeling welled up. After a long time, I took out the divorce agreement and placed it on the marble coffee table. When I was packing my luggage to leave, I thought for a moment, took out the surveillance video, sent it to Serena, and blacklisted her. "Zhang, I'm ready. Come pick me up." Serena and Ethan took the children to see a doctor and get medicine. Fortunately, it was just a minor injury. The doctor just disinfected it and applied some ointment. They also took the children out for steak and fried chicken, then drove everyone back to the mansion. Felix was still clinging to Serena, wanting Mom to sleep with him. Thinking of Owen's calm gaze when she left, Serena panicked. She ripped Felix's tightly clinging hand away, grabbed her keys, and drove home nervously. Seeing Felix injured today, and Bella crying so hard, she had lost control and hit Owen without even listening to his explanation. The moment she pushed open the door, Serena shouted anxiously, "Owen!" But only an empty echo answered her. Serena immediately rushed upstairs and yanked open the closet. The hanging clothes hangers swayed emptily. Serena looked up and saw that the wedding photo was gone. She rushed into the bathroom, but the cups, towels, and razor were all gone. Serena felt scared for the first time, and her heart trembled violently. She hurriedly made a call, but only a mechanical female voice came through. "I'm sorry, the number you dialed is busy." An hour later, Serena sat on the sofa in agony, watching the surveillance video on her phone, and looking at the simple divorce agreement with only a few lines. Owen had left, and he didn't want anything. For the first time, Serena fell into endless panic. She hugged her arms tightly and curled up on the sofa. She had felt this helpless and scared 20 years ago. At that time, creditors were blocking the door, clamoring to move things out of her house, and her father was still in prison. People who were collecting debts were sleeping in the company every day, and rotten vegetables and stinky eggs were thrown at the door. She was alone, trembling with fear, sitting on the sofa with her head down. At that time, Owen had rushed in, hugged her, who was trembling all over, and comforted her. Then he protected her behind him and negotiated with the angry creditors. In the end, he actually signed an IOU, agreeing to repay it in installments. The phone suddenly rang, pulling Serena back to her thoughts. Looking at the familiar number, Serena swiped left to reject it. But the other end was still persistent, and the ringtone rang stubbornly. There were long messages on WeChat. Mom, my hand hurts so much. Please come quickly. Serena, Felix is making a lot of noise. I really can't coax him. Please come quickly. I understand that Brother Fong is angry. I'll personally apologize to him tomorrow. I'll take whatever beating or scolding he wants. It's all because Felix is ignorant. How can we not indulge him? Listening to Ethan's subtle words, Serena felt his darkness for the first time. She had been blinded by her own desires. He said his mother was seriously ill and wanted a child, and he cried and said he was useless and unfilial, and he didn't even have a girlfriend. Since he was her best friend in college, she had agreed out of some inexplicable impulse. At that time, she just wanted to have a child who was connected to her by blood, and she didn't want to disrupt her life. Ethan had promised her that after the child was born, he would raise him alone and would not affect her life and family. Later, things slowly went off track. Felix got sick and was hospitalized, and it was Felix and Bella's birthday. She couldn't help but go again and again. After a long time, Serena sat up straight. She had made up her mind. She had been impulsive today and shouldn't have distrusted him. She would apologize to him and beg him to forgive her. She could send Felix and Bella back to the United States and would never see them again except for the necessary living expenses. Serena immediately began to take action, looking for a lawyer to prepare to change back the shares, and she would also take back the mansion she had given to Ethan and put the car in a consignment shop to sell. Serena hurried to deal with everything. She wanted to arrange everything while Owen was angry, so that he wouldn't be angry with her anymore when he came back. It seemed that this would allow her and Owen to go back to the way they were before. When Ethan brought the two children to find Serena, Serena was hanging up the wedding photos on the wall. He said with some dissatisfaction, "Serena, you said that couples shouldn't argue, so how can you threaten me with divorce so easily?" Serena looked down at Ethan, who was indignant and defending her. "Do you think he's threatening me?" Ethan carefully observed Serena and saw that she really seemed to be asking his opinion. He was overjoyed. "Isn't this a threat? First a divorce agreement, then destroying the wedding photos and hiding. Isn't this just the little woman's tantrum?" Saying that, he said disdainfully, "Serena, you're just too soft-hearted. If you ask me, just ignore him and let him suffer outside. He'll come back obediently. What is he without the Wen family? He's just an outsider, a dog you keep. He should be content with what you give him and still wants to compete with Felix." Just as Ethan was feeling pleased with himself, the wedding photo crashed down on his head. Serena trembled and couldn't speak. So this was Ethan's evaluation of Owen. No, it was everyone's evaluation of Owen, including her own parents. An outsider? A dog kept by the Wen family? Over the years, behind her back, how much gossip, how many snide remarks had he endured? A son-in-law was already inferior to others, and he was also an infertile son-in-law. Wasn't he just like a dog kept by the Wen family? She was really an idiot. How could she not bravely take responsibility? Serena's tears fell and Ethan looked at Serena in shock as blood slowly flowed down his face. Felix and Bella rushed in and cried as they saw Ethan's face covered in blood. Felix even stood in front of Ethan, baring his teeth at Serena. "You're not my mom. You're a bad woman. When I inherit the Wen family's business in the future, I'm going to kick you out onto the streets and make you eat garbage." Serena stared blankly at Felix, unable to believe that these were the words that had come out of her own child's mouth. This was the child she had raised with so much guilt and love. Serena stared blankly at the two crying children, feeling so strange for the first time. Serena slowly opened her mouth. "Ethan, take the children to the United States. Don't come back in the future. I'll wire the living expenses every month, and I'll have the lawyer go through the procedures to take back the shares." Ethan stood up suddenly, staring at Serena with wide eyes. "Serena, the shares belong to Felix and Bella. What right do you have to take them back? Have you fulfilled your responsibilities as a mother for even one day in all these years? This is what you should be compensating them for. I don't agree to you taking back the shares." Serena looked at Ethan in surprise. He had once said that his greatest wish was for the four of them to be together and that nothing else mattered, not the company or the mansion. But the first thing he said was that the shares belonged to them, and what right did she have to take them back? He didn't say that he didn't want to go back to the United States. Seeing that Serena's expression was not right, Ethan quickly changed his tone and said softly, "Serena, I'm doing this for the good of the children. They've been without a mother since they were little, and they're already very pitiful. If you make them destitute, others will look down on them." Felix was good at reading faces and immediately went forward and hugged Serena's leg. "Mom, the classmates in my class all say I'm a child without a mom, and they all bully me. Now that they know I'm the young master of the Wen family, they're all willing to be my friends. I don't want to go back to the United States." Saying that, he raised his head and looked at me pitifully. Ethan gave him a look, and Bella also hugged her other leg and begged. Serena looked at the two children and had never regretted giving birth to them more than at this moment. They had already been taught by Ethan to lose their innocence. Serena took a deep breath and looked up at Ethan. "The children are innocent. I'll take care of them in the future. You go back to the United States." Ethan's face changed immediately, and then he pleaded, "Serena, I love you so much. I'm willing to give up my career for you and stay at home to take care of the children and wait for you. How can you bear to let me be lonely?" Serena looked up and looked at Ethan coldly. "Ethan, first of all, I didn't ask you to wait for me, and I didn't ask you to give up your career. Do you still remember our original agreement?" Ethan's eyes darted away. Back then, he had coaxed Serena into having children, saying that she wouldn't have to worry about the children in the future, and he wouldn't bother her family. He thought that with his sweet words and the children, Serena would eventually abandon Owen, that good-for-nothing. He didn't expect that she cared so much about Owen. After he left home for only a few days, she panicked and wanted to drive him away. There was no way he would let her get away with it so easily. Ethan rolled his eyes reddening, and said, "Okay, Serena, I'll listen to you. I'll go back to the United States and never come back. I'll leave Felix and Bella to you in the future." Saying that, he wiped the corner of his eye and turned to walk out the door. Felix and Bella immediately rushed over and wailed, not letting him leave. Ethan suppressed his tears and forcibly tore Felix away and dragged him to Serena. Looking at Serena with endless sadness, "Serena, I love you. I won't make things difficult for you. You and Brother Fawn can live well in the future. It's just that Felix and Bella might not be used to being away from me. Don't be fierce to them. Slowly coax them and they'll get used to it." Saying that, he wiped the corner of his eye and pretended to turn his head and leave. Just as Serena was agonizing, Felix suddenly howled, blurting out astonishing words, "Dad, don't leave me, I want to find Mom." Saying that, he clenched his fist and slammed it towards Serena. "You're a bad woman, get out, I want to find Mom." Ethan turned around and quickly covered Felix's mouth, looking at Serena with a nervous expression. At that moment, Serena's mind was struck by a thunderbolt, and she carefully looked at Felix and Bella. She had returned to the country 2 days after giving birth, only having time to kiss them. They hadn't met for 100 days, and what mother could have imagined that the children from her womb were not her own? Serena's face turned pale, and she pointed at Ethan with a trembling finger. "Who is Felix looking for? Who is his mother?" A moment later, the doctor arrived and drew blood for an expedited DNA testing. Ethan was furious beside her, cursing Serena for being ruthless and heartless, a mother suspecting her own children. How could this allow Felix to face people and gain a foothold in high society when he grew up? Serena simply had the bodyguards hold him down, calmly drawing blood with a gloomy face. An hour later, the results came out. Felix and Bella were not related to her by blood. Felix was related to Ethan, and Bella was not related to him. Serena staggered and fell to the ground, and after a long while, she asked in a hoarse voice, "Ethan, where did you take my children?" Ethan's eyes were frighteningly fierce, gloomy and vicious, and he just sneered without saying a word. Serena rushed up and strangled Ethan tightly, choking him almost to the point of fainting. The bodyguards pulled her away, allowing Serena to send Ethan to the police station on charges of child abduction. A day later, Ethan confessed. It turned out that after graduating from college, he had encountered setbacks in his career and happened to meet Serena, whose career was booming. After hearing that Serena and her husband had always been child-free, Ethan made a grand plan in his heart. He began to care for Serena in every possible way but never crossed the line, brewing soup and porridge for her in the capacity of a good classmate and brother. He even stepped forward and tore at a homeless man when she encountered harassment. Until one day, Ethan took Serena to see his seriously ill mother. The old woman cried tearfully while holding her son's hand, saying that she would be sorry to her husband after death for not seeing her son get married and have children. That day, Ethan drank a bottle of white wine and cried in Serena's arms. Serena also drank alcohol that day, and impulsively agreed to have a child with Ethan. The two rolled together like that, and when she woke up the next day, Ethan knelt in front of her, guaranteeing that he would not disturb her, and that he would leave far away after giving birth. Half a month later, Serena was indeed pregnant. At that time, Serena thought it was God's pity that she had a child after only one try. How could she not get pregnant? Ethan had already prepared fertilized eggs through an underground organization, and implanted them into her body while Serena was sound asleep. For insurance, 2 fertilized eggs were specially implanted. The child Serena gave birth to was someone else's child at all, and a few days after giving birth, Ethan sent it to the orphanage. And what Serena had always cherished and cared about were just the children born to Ethan and his wife. Bella was also an abandoned baby that Ethan brought back to fill the number. Serena only saw the tiny babies once every few months. How could she recognize that they had been switched? Serena collapsed when she learned the truth, burying herself in darkness, not eating or drinking, and not asking about the company. This scandal quickly became big news in Riverton, and the Wynn Group plummeted. Hostile companies added fuel to the fire, saying that women still couldn't do big things, they were too easily emotional, and that the Wynn Group would be finished sooner or later after Mr. Fawn left. The Wynn family elders began by scolding Serena, and later got so angry that they were sent to the hospital. By the time Serena was persuaded to come out, most of the Wynn Group had been destroyed. Serena didn't care at all. She handed over all the company's affairs to other shareholders for management, and began to look for Owen everywhere. She didn't dare to delay any longer. A whole month had passed, and she was afraid that if she couldn't find Owen again, he would never come back. A month later, Serena stood on the vast land of the Northwest, travel-worn. I was sitting in the simple office, wearing a hard hat and discussing the details of the factory with the engineers. Serena looked at me excitedly, and after a long time, she opened her mouth and shouted, "Owen, I miss you so much." As she said that, tears fell down her face. Several engineers packed up their materials and left. I frowned and looked at Serena, who looked haggard. "What's the matter?" "I'm very busy now and don't want to reminisce about the past." Serena looked at me with tearful eyes, and after choking for a moment, she said, "I was wrong about Felix getting hurt before. I shouldn't have hit you, I didn't trust you." I smiled indifferently. "It doesn't matter, it's already over." Serena was stunned, and opened her mouth with a trembling voice. "Owen, I was also deceived. I really didn't know Ethan was this kind of person. Felix and Bella, they are not my children. Ethan, he deceived me." As she spoke, she covered her face and sobbed. I sneered at her. Did she think I would still comfort her without any grudges, saying, "It doesn't matter, it's not your fault"? Seeing that my expression was calm, Serena quickly wiped away her tears, grabbed my arm, and pleaded, "Owen, I know I hurt your heart, it doesn't matter, we still have a lot of time in the future, I will make it up to you, I will give you all the stock agreement of the company. Didn't you say you wanted to go to Snow Mountain to see the snow? Let's go to Switzerland to see the Melly Snow Mountain, okay? I've handed over the company to them, I'll accompany you wherever you want to go in the future. If you want a child, let's have one, okay?" Serena asked for my opinion again and again, looking at me pleadingly. I thought for a while, made a phone call, and after a few minutes, a little girl with pigtails walked in, holding a pastry in her hand. She ran to my side happily and handed the pastry to my mouth. "Dad, this is Uncle David's cake for me, I specially saved it for you to eat." I smiled and took a bite. And rubbed the girl's head. Serena looked at the girl in surprise. Who is she? How did you have a child? I smiled sarcastically. She wouldn't think everyone was as immoral and heartless as her, would she? "This is my adopted daughter, Lolo. It was when I first came here, I went to town with a few friends to eat barbecue. Lolo was wearing ragged clothes, huddled up and hiding next to us watching us. Her eyes were eager and scared. I picked up 2 skewers of mutton and waved to her. She walked over warily, grabbed them and ran away. After a few minutes, she came back again, still hiding at the corner watching us. I asked the landlady to cook her a bowl of egg noodles, and she ate the bowl voraciously. Through the landlady's narration, I learned that the Northwest was poor, and many girls were abandoned by adults. I felt pity in my heart, so I took her back to the construction site and named her Lolo. It's only been a month, and the thin, malnourished little girl is now fair and chubby, and has become cheerful and lively. The workers all said that Lolo was lucky to have met me, but how was I not lucky to have met her in my most lonely and sad time? Serena, I already have my own life now, and I don't want to wrong myself and be looked down upon anymore. Go back. Owen, no more, no more, no one will ever look down on you again. I will tell them it's my problem, that I don't want to have children. As long as you're not angry, we'll have a child when we go back. The truth was, I liked children very much. If I had heard these words a year ago, or even a month ago, I would have been overjoyed. But she never mentioned it, because she had children, so she refused to have any more with me. Serena, am I a backup, or a tool for you to use at will? You can't just turn back to me because you know you've been deceived and lost your children. I'm not for just anyone. What qualifications do you have to talk to me about having children now? Serena's face turned pale in an instant, and she ran out covering her face in shame and indignation. In fact, even if she didn't say it, I understood. At first, it might have been a moment of confusion, but later it was surprise, the surprise of being a mother for the first time. People are so strange, they may not care at first, but slowly they develop feelings, and there is a shift, especially for children born from their own womb. But how can people's hearts withstand so much torment? Serena opened a hotel in small town and came to the construction site to see me every day. She also bought Lolo dolls and new clothes. Lolo just glanced at them, put her hands behind her back, and said loudly, "Dad will buy me clothes and toys. Dad doesn't like you, so I don't want your things, take them away." Saying that, she turned her head away. Serena looked embarrassed and followed Lolo to my side. I took Lolo's hand and walked past Serena. "Go back, the company is waiting for you." Serena stubbornly followed behind me. "Owen, look at the wedding photos I had redone, and the house has been redecorated according to your favorite style. Also, I bought 3 cars and put them in the garage, you can drive whichever one you like." I just glanced at them and looked at her without saying a word. After a long time, Serena's voice gradually weakened, like a child who had made a mistake, and she cried, "Owen, I really regret it, I shouldn't have hurt your heart." She stared at my face obsessively. "If we had a child back then, would he be as handsome and kind as you? If we had a child according to your wishes, would we not be like this? Would you be able to forgive me?" I looked at her expressionlessly, walked around her, and walked towards the construction site. A whimper came from behind. A month later, mother-in-law called and said that father-in-law's heart disease was serious and his condition was not good. Serena looked at me pleadingly. "Owen, come back with me. Dad is dying, let's go back and see him." I flipped through the materials expressionlessly. "Go back, father-in-law has never liked me. I guess he wouldn't want to see me before he dies. I won't get in his way." Serena looked at me with red eyes, staring at me intently. "Owen, can you really let go of our 20 years of marriage? Can we really not go back to the past?" I interrupted her. "Serena, I have signed the divorce agreement, we have no relationship anymore. It's better for us to not disturb each other in the future." "Owen, I know I was wrong, I can't bear to leave you." In the end, Serena left crying. It's not that I'm heartless, it's that I've had enough of a life of losing myself. For the rest of my life, I want to pursue my own career, not be Serena's husband, a man married into the Wynn family. A week later, father-in-law passed away, and Serena took care of the funeral herself. Before the 7th day after his death, Serena transferred the company and transferred most of the funds to me. I looked at the long string of numbers and didn't refuse. This was originally my hard work. I turned around and donated them to the orphanage, hoping that there would be no more cute children like Lolo wandering around. Later, I heard that Ethan was sentenced to 10 years, and his mistress also divorced him. Felix and Bella really became orphans and were sent to the orphanage. Serena disappeared, some said she went abroad, and some said she was murdered. Only I knew that a new inn, called Owen Serena's Inn, had opened in a remote small town in the northwest. 2 burly men were taking care of it, and the proprietress never showed her face. It is said that the prices were cheap, basically losing money, and couples who stayed together were given discounts. I never went there and didn't care about it. The company was on the right track, and I, as the vice president and CEO, was so busy every day that I couldn't even eat. 2 years later, the company's profits exceeded 100 million, and I took the DV. Dens bought a small villa with a garden and moved in with Lolo. Lolo slowly grew up and started to nag, telling me not to drink alcohol and to eat on time every day. And then for decades, I was busy and content, and never remembered the past again. The past was like an old dream, and the old dream was like smoke, and it never entered my new life.